So it's been over a month and a half now since season 2 of The Last of Us concluded, and I felt now was a good time to go over every episode and rank them from worst to bad to just slightly okay. And yeah, let's get started. In the 7th spot, I have season 2 episode 3 titled The Path. I think this is the most nothing episode in the entire season. It is just incredibly boring, and that's why it is in the last spot. At least with the ones above it, they are so bad that I actually get some enjoyment out of criticizing them and laughing at the mistakes they're making. But this episode is either completely added content or completely filler. This is the episode after Joel's death, in which for some reason they travel 10 miles outside of the city to visit his grave. Also where they have that really insufferable and dumb council meeting. This is also where we find out that Ellie is completely incompetent and has no idea how she's actually going to get to Seattle. And yeah, this entire episode is just Ellie leaving Jackson and making her way to Seattle, and it could be completely cut from the story and nothing changed. It's just a complete nothing episode, all in all. In 6th place, I have episode 4, that being titled Day 1. This is an episode that I know some people actually like, because you get to see the Horde and, I don't know, it's just Dina and Ellie doing stuff. I can't stand this episode. Just personally, it really bothers me for one reason in particular. That being the Shamblers is a really big nitpick for me. I really wanted to see the Shamblers this season. They're my favorite infected type from The Last of Us 2, and cutting them out from the season entirely was really, really sad. And I was going into this episode super hyped because I actually really like this portion of Day 1 in the game. I was really excited to see Ellie save Dina's life. I was really excited to see the Shamblers. I was just really excited to see all of these crucial character moments that were going to happen between these two characters, and they flopped it. They flopped it all. This is also the episode where we get "I'm going to be a dad," which is one of the most obnoxious lines in the entire season. This is the episode where they just completely destroy Dina and Ellie's relationship, and out of all of the episodes, this is probably the worst. The only reason I'm putting it here is just because the one previously just doesn't have to exist at all, but yeah. Season 2, episode 4, Day 1 is obnoxiously bad. Coming in the 5th spot, I have episode 5, Feel Her Love. This is the episode right after episode 4, and it is, I'm not even going to say slightly better because it doesn't do enough justice for how bad this block of episodes were. But this is the episode in which Dina and Ellie are trying to make their way to Nora, and in this episode we have this really stupid scene where Dina and Ellie just should be dead when they're locked in this warehouse with all of the stalkers. They are dead here. Jesse saving them doesn't make any sense. It's a massive issue I had with the season. People just appear and spawn in at convenient times. And to make matters worse, this episode actually ends with Nora's death. And while I don't think the actual death of Nora is the worst thing in the entire season, the build-up to that death is really, really brutal. The only thing like putting this episode above the other ones is I like the cold opening we get here, where the people in WLF are talking about how they had to lock the lower levels of the hospital because they don't really know what was down there. That was a really good opening. It reminded me of the openings of season 1, and I wish they did more cold openings like this. But yeah, this episode is a disaster. More terrible relationships between Dina and Ellie, Jesse coming out of nowhere to save the day in a really contrived manner, and then Ellie teleporting to Nora to kill her in, again, a really unsatisfying way. This bottom 3 episodes, these are just obnoxiously bad. I cannot believe how bad these episodes were. Now, in the 4th place, I actually have episode 1, Future Days. And I will say, these next 4 episodes I do think are slightly better than the bottom 3. But we're talking about awful, egregious episodes to just really bad episodes. I think episode 1, it's an okay opening to the season. I thought it would have been a really good worst episode. Getting to see Joel back in his role and Pedro Pascal back in the role as Joel was really interesting. What really brings this episode down, unfortunately, though, is just Ellie being insufferable the entire time and acting out of character, like screaming that she's immune and just being an obnoxious brat the entire episode. It was very, very frustrating. Other than that, I really couldn't stand how they introduced Abby really early on and just gave away her motivations from the opening. This really messed up the entire pacing for the whole season and will probably mess things up for season 3. The only redeeming quality of this episode is I kind of like Pedro Pascal as Joel, and just seeing him in the role to create some sort of contrast with the rest of the characters is enough to make it better than everything beneath it, but it's still a really bad episode overall. In 3rd place, rounding out our top 3, I have episode 2 titled Through the Valley. And this episode was a very controversial one because this is the episode in which Joel dies, which Abby murders him. And this episode isn't the best, if I'm being quite honest. I don't love how Joel's death happens. I don't love how it happens in the game or the TV show. I don't think it's awful, but I don't think it's that bad. But the only thing keeping this above the rest is I really like the raid on Jackson. I really liked actually seeing the infected and have them being scary. I liked seeing the bloater chase Tommy through the streets. I liked watching them set up an actual coordinated defense against the infected. I liked how I could actually see what was going on, unlike the Long Night from Game of Thrones. It's a great example to compare. This episode was just okay. It wasn't an amazing episode. It wasn't one of the best episodes of TV that I've ever seen, but the fight in Jackson carried it enough to put it in the top 3 and make it an okay episode. Now, this is actually a funny pick. So if I'm going based off of a quality, where I think this episode should be placed, I would put Season 2, Episode 7, Convergence, in probably the 5th place spot because it is a mess of an episode. But this episode is such a disaster at points that I actually get some enjoyment out of it. Like when Ellie goes to the Center Fight Island for no reason, that was so dumb that I almost look back on it with fond memories because I couldn't believe why it was there. But with that being said, the only thing that brings this episode to the 2nd place spot, and I want to say this, this is not in the 2nd place spot because it's a good episode. It is still really, really bad. This whole season was a disaster, front to back. But this episode is in the top 2 for a few reasons. One, I think this is Bella Ramsey's only okay performance at times. I really don't like the opening scene, which is talking about Nora's death. What am I talking? This episode's terrible. I'm trying to find redeeming qualities in these episodes to try and be like, oh, they're not that bad, because I don't want to be just completely negative this entire video, but I'm just flat out coping right now. Every single episode, outside from the one that I'm about to talk about, is terrible. This episode is also terrible. It's just the opening scene with Nora is bad. The only thing that I don't completely hate is the pregnancy scene, but even then, it's not the best scene in the world. Her going to the Seraphite Island is completely stupid. Her relationship with Dina is completely chalked in this episode. Every single episode in the season was bad, man. I'm just looking back at this, I'm just like, man, I can't even say that there's any redeeming qualities. The only redeeming qualities these episodes had was I watched them with my girlfriend and we got to laugh at how terrible this was. But with that being said, the only halfway decent episode of Season 2, unfortunately, is Episode 6, The Price. And this is just a combination of all of the flashbacks from the 2nd game. And the only reason this is this high is Pedro Pascal is the main character here as Joel, and he is far better in a way the best character of this entire season, even though he's only in 1 episode. Some of the flashbacks weren't actually that bad. I enjoyed the flashback with Gale a little bit. I liked seeing Joel and his father at the start of the episode. That cold opening was actually really well done, and again, I wish they did more cold openings like this. But yeah, this was the only halfway decent episode of this entire season. If I could say what the season ranked from, I would go egregious episodes to really, really bad episodes to awful episodes to just one okay one. Awful season overall, no matter how much cope I try and say or how much I try to want to think this isn't that bad. Man, brutal. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching. I just wanted to quickly rank this, get my thoughts out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know your ranking, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.